Greetings. On behalf of the Board of Directors for the EMS ISD Education Foundation, we'd like to welcome you to the presentation portion of today's event. The following professionals are recognized as a woman of influence in our community.
My name's Linda Currier, and I live in the Saginaw area and live with, we're a blended family, live with my daughter and her family, and we just have every day's a party. I grew up in Dallas. My dad and mom built the house that we lived in with their own hands. I went to Woodrow Wilson. We were the Wildcats. In my junior year, President John F. Kennedy was shot while I was in journalism class that day. And what made it so meaningful to our school was that we were an inner city school and he was shot right downtown under the triple underpass. And so it was like, oh no, you know, it happened right here so close to us. And so that made us real sad for a long time. Mother was a one-room school teacher before she married Dad, and she really was a tremendous influence on me. Unfortunately, she passed away when I was 15 years old, and my Aunt Nevie, her sister, became my guardian angel. She made sure that a 15-year-old teenage girl had the things that she needed and wanted, so she always bought me a new coat every winter and a new swimsuit every summer. I learned as much or more from her and her good influence because she was a community leader. She ran our family business, and she was highly regarded by everyone who knew her. After college, I moved back to Dallas, and so in a few weeks, I found a job, and it was working for Neiman Marcus for about 5 years, and decided that that was not really as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. So fast forward, I stayed at home with having my family, and we bought a home in the Eagle Mountain Saginaw School District, and my oldest little girl started kindergarten, and I could not wait to get to meet new people, to get involved with the schools, because I had heard such good things about the school district. So I started out as room mother, and then went through all the PTA offices, wound up being president 2 years, and before you knew it, my second daughter came along, and she also went through Eagle Mountain Elementary, and both of my daughters got wonderful elementary educations at that public school. At that time, the principal was David Ramsey. Said, Linda, have you ever thought about teaching? And I said, yes, I've thought about it, but I don't have an education degree. And he said, we can help you with that. We can fill out a deficiency plan and get you the courses that you need. And so I did that. I went to college a couple of summers, I think, and got that teaching certificate, and then started teaching at Wayside right away. And I would have never guessed that those doors would have opened for me simply by starting out as a room mother in PTA at my children's school. And then after that, I went on and became a curriculum specialist. The programs that I managed were those that were near and dear to my heart. And they were programs, federal programs, such as the homeless program, the at-risk program, the reading and math improvement program, the teen pregnancy program, and of course DARE and drug prevention. So all of those spoke to me because it would benefit the kids in more ways than just academics. We were teaching those children how to live their life wherever they were, whatever place they were at in their life at that time. After retirement, I wanted to stay busy, and so a friend recruited me to join Eagle Mountain Saginaw Retired School Employees. We do all kinds of different things. We have a fundraising auction that we collaborate with to support the foundation, and the foundation helps us select 4 scholarship winners. That's our largest fundraiser. Another community service thing that we do is that we provide readers, early readers, to the students in pre-K in the district. So we're catching those kids early, and then we're catching them when they graduate, and hopefully we want them to go into education and become teachers. You know, the thing is that women can be strong, we can be leaders, and yet we can teach with our heart, and we can be compassionate, and we can have tenderness, because we know that it takes two things to be a good teacher, and that is you have to teach with your heart, and you have to have effective curriculum. And we know that that's provided, that the district provides the curriculum if the teachers will, if we can find good teachers that teach with their heart.
Well, I grew up in Sherman, Texas, and one of the things I remember about my childhood was I was an only child for a very long time, and I was riding my trike and in my mother's prized flower beds. And I made the mistake of trying to lie my way out of that, and it did not go well for me. So I just pretty much loved learning, especially things related to history and English. And so I went to Austin College, but my first real job after Austin College was I taught school. My first year I taught middle school. No, middle school is not for me. So then I taught high school, and that was for me. But then I went back to graduate school. So I went to TCU to work on my master's, and really thought I wanted to be a school counselor. So I got my school counseling certification, but I also got opened to the world of nonprofits through an internship. So I tried to get a job as a school counselor, and there's a gentleman that is now a friend of ours who was interviewing for a job not in our school district, but in another school district, and he didn't hire me. And I'm like, wait a minute, what were you thinking? So I give him a hard time still today for not hiring me, but it required me then to take a leap of faith and to step out of my comfort zone and to go to work actually in the education field, but for an agency that was at that time called the Parenting Guidance Center. It's now called the Parenting Center. Their focus was on child abuse prevention. And so that's basically what I was doing, was teaching parenting classes to the general public, but also to Child Protective Services clients who had been identified as having parenting issues and had maybe had an open child abuse case or neglect case. To step out of that public school arena where I was comfortable, where my husband was connected, it made my heart beat fast. I was at a meeting and found out that this lady was leaving a job in Arlington as head of the women's shelter there. And so I applied for the job, and to this day, I'm not sure why they hired me. So it was a huge switch. It was a sort of a switch in focus. So now this is all about domestic violence. You know, we had kids in school, but it was that is when I found my mission. That focus on the issue of family violence, on the issue of domestic violence, and on protecting the lives of women and children, and on educating the community on that issue, because now people talk about domestic violence and family violence, but I've got to tell you, in the early 90s, not so much. I have been so fortunate to have so many strong women in my life. It's just not possible for me to tell you one person. I will tell you the person that right now, today, I admire the most, and that's my daughter. It's just the grace and the tenacity that she has demonstrated as she's taken this journey that had so many unexpected twists to it. My advice to young women would be to take risks. And the way that you can take those risks is by garnering the support of those around you, particularly other women. That circle of women will strengthen you, and they will lift you up, and they will make those risks become realities.
My name is Ebony Cobb McCain. I am an attorney/partner at Purdue Brandon Fielder Collins & Mott. Although I look 21, I have been working there for the past 21 years, so you do the math. I enjoy what I do. I get to represent wonderful and amazing school districts, and I'm an advocate and a personal believer in public education. I was born in Long Beach, California on a Navy base because my dad was in the military and my mom, believe it or not, was a teacher. And then my parents divorced when I was 3 years old, and I got to see my mom do all the things. So I guess you could say I'm an only child, and I grew up in a single parent household. And so statistically, I shouldn't be where I am, but because I'm a woman of faith and my mother taught me to be a woman of faith, here I am. My freshman year of high school, my mom got a promotion to be a principal in Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD. So we moved to Dallas my freshman year. At that point in time, I was enrolled in what they were just coming out with as an AP courses. And so at the time, we were exposed and just had opportunities to learn about different things, to try different career opportunities. And at that time, I found myself always advocating for something. So with that mouth, I knew I could make some money doing that. So I decided at that point that I really, really wanted to pursue law. But I also wanted to be my own boss. I lived with my mother and got through law school. Unfortunately, I was a person that had to work while I was in law school. And so I got an amazing internship with this company called Purdue Brandon Fielder Collins & Mott, in which now I am a partner of. And not just a partner, an equity partner. I actually own part of the business. I enjoy what I do, but I love the people that I do it with, and that makes a huge difference. I had been married for 10 years and couldn't have children, and so I finally had this miracle baby, and then life happened. I was going through a divorce. I found out on a Friday that I had breast cancer. It was so bad that I had to have a mastectomy that Monday. It was a heartbreaking thing for me. I tried to show my strength, but this is when I was able to lean on my sisters. I do believe that women supporting other women is such an important part of going through this. But I count it all joy, because had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I constantly pray, I constantly advocate on behalf of women, because there was a part in time when they said you didn't need to get mammograms till you were 40. Well, a lot of women are getting breast cancer before they turn 40. So that's kind of one of my initiatives, and that I will use my advocacy skills for, is that we get early detection, because early detection matters. I'm lucky and I'm blessed because I'm still alive. But for my sisters that did not make it through, I will continue to fight for them. I think the two biggest women in my life have been my mom, of course, that would work 2 or 3 jobs to make sure that I had opportunities that she didn't. And then the second woman in my life is my business partner, and her name is Elizabeth Bandicalvo. I always tell her she's the healthiest relationship I've ever had, because we've worked together for 20+ years. I did go through some difficult times. I went through a divorce, I went through breast cancer, but I came out on the other side. And I took some time to heal. And in that healing, I prayed for a husband. And I got a husband. He's an amazing person. His name is Fred McCain. He's an amazing stepdad. And so, again, I think that's why it's so important that we encourage women that are going through, you know, whether it be illness, whether it be domestic violence, anything that they're going through, that there is light on the other side.
I grew up in a small community, a rural community called Tunca Verde, which is east of Tucson, Arizona, in the foothills of the Rincon Mountains. We had a beautiful piece of property that was surrounded by other larger ranches. So I spent most of my time outside with my animals. My brother was 8 years older than I am, and we were very, very close. There's so many amazing women out there, and I'm just so grateful for all of them. I'd like to talk a little bit about my mother. She was a career woman and was the operations officer of a bank for 25 years. She was at the bank from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every night. But in order to make sure that I got the attention I needed and to be entertained, she made sure that I met people that could do that for her. And she put me in Y-Teens, Brownies and Girl Scouts, and 4-H, which of course was my favorite because I got to raise livestock. And the greatest influence in my life was most likely my 4-H leader, Sylvia Spitzer. I went to her house twice a week, once a week for cooking classes and once a week for sewing classes for 7 years. And she became like a second mom. And I learned so many things from her that to this day, I think as I'm doing something that she taught me that I would not know this if it wasn't for Mrs. Spitzer. My mother could have taught me many of them, but I learned what my mother knew and what Mrs. Spitzer knew, and it was a blessing to me. So I decided that my best option after graduating in animal science from University of Arizona was to become a flight attendant. Luckily, I got based in Dallas-Fort Worth. About 6 years later, I was at a beef cattle seminar and met my husband. Dick and I started the Eagle Mountain 4-H Club, and at our first meeting, we had 41 kids. That was larger than any existing 4-H club in Tarrant County. There was one family with 2 little girls that really wanted to raise animals but didn't have space for livestock. And I said, well, what if you would consider raising rabbits? You still get to raise animals, but they don't take up a lot of space, and they're a lot of fun. And they started off knowing nothing, but in very short order, they were winning. They became judges locally. Then they were requested to judge state rabbit shows, and now they are national judges. They both ended up also going to college for agriculture and graduated in ag, and they are now teachers in ag. And that is Katie and Kendall Lyle, and I'm so very proud of them. Dick was very involved in the Chamber of Commerce. They came to a point where they had to move the Chamber of Commerce building. Ended up finding land that BNSF was willing to donate if they could find a building to put on it. So they ended up finding a beautiful old railroad depot. When they went to speak to the people about it, he said, how could you help us with this? And they said, tell you what, we will donate it to you if you can come up with a 501c3 to help us make that donation possible. Well, Dick had already been on the school board and was discussing with the school board starting a foundation for education through the school board. So he said, what if we would set that up through the Chamber of Commerce so that we can accept this building, and that way we have a way to channel those funds from the foundation back into education for the school district. So they had to have funds available for these expenses, and there weren't a lot at that time. And we started having golf tournaments as fundraisers. Once that was done, people started donating to the foundation, thank goodness, and that allowed us to offer scholarships to kids in the district. And to this day, it's grown and is an amazing help. So after my kids started school, I was invited by a friend to join PTA. That ended up being so much more than I ever thought it would be. I had no idea what PTAs did in this day and time compared to when I was a child. Also very involved in YMCA sports and PYBSA. I serve on the Dido Cemetery Association board. I started delivering Meals on Wheels about 10 years ago because my grandmother had received Meals on Wheels in West Virginia, and I know that it took so much pressure off of my mother living in Arizona to know that her mother was not only being fed every day but being checked on by someone every day. So the advice I would give my children is I want them to be content. I want them to know that they're always free to make their own choices so that they can follow their passion. And I want them to look back on life and know that they created their own perfect story.
I'm Stacy De Hoyos, and I am the Director of Pre-K Services and Campus Administrator at Hafley Development Center. I was definitely a nerd in high school. I wouldn't say that back then because it wasn't cool to be a nerd in high school, but I definitely own that now. I also met my husband when I was in high school, stayed together and got married after high school, and will now be celebrating soon our 30th wedding anniversary. So I went to work and started working in early childhood intervention of Tarrant County. That actually was what set the foundation for basically what would become my career going forward. And so a friend there was going to get her teaching certificate, and I thought, okay, my stepmom is a teacher, and she was an amazing teacher, and I admired her so much. And so I took my friend's advice and enrolled at Region 11, and that's where I got my alternative teaching certificate. My first teaching position in the district was at Elkins Elementary School. The program in early childhood special education at the time was preschool program for children with disabilities, had grown so much. They thankfully needed to add a teacher, and they chose me. Kathy Bragg was my principal, my first principal. Weldon Hafley Development Center was opening the next year as an early childhood center, and Ms. Renfro brought me over as part of her team to open the center in 2005, and stayed there for 7 years, and then left for just a few years to do some other things in elementary campuses. But in 2016, when there was an opportunity to come back as a parent liaison, I jumped on that opportunity. So Raise Your Hand Texas is a nonpartisan advocacy group that's based in Austin that really support public education. I first got involved with them as part of the Raising Family Partnerships program, and we grew a very successful family engagement program there at the campus. We had a lot of different things that families could be involved in, and it was such a great time to connect with families and really discover how important that family partnership is in student success. And so that is kind of, led me to where the work that I did with the Principal Advocacy Fellowship. So realizing that this partnership was so important, when they asked for principals across the state to come and serve in an advocacy role, I kind of jumped on that thinking, okay, yes, I'm going to do this because I understand the value and the importance of all that we do. It also helped me understand that as an educator, that it was okay to be an advocate. That was something that educators, as teachers, we stayed away from because it just seemed like there was something we weren't allowed to do. But while in Austin and working with Raise Your Hand Texas, I learned that we really can. We really can advocate for public education. We can advocate for the great work that we do. We can be a voice for our students and our families. And also we can help our students and families learn how to have a voice themselves. So I've had the opportunity to serve as a mentor for the Raising Texas Teachers program. The relationship that you build with that mentor really never goes away, and it allows me to give back in a way that I enjoy in helping aspiring teachers feel like they have someone that they can come to when they have questions that they might not know how to ask or find an answer to. My mom is definitely a woman of influence. When I say that she's someone who will give the shirt off of her back, she will. She cares deeply about everyone. If you've met Mom, you have a friend for life. And I think a lot of the advocacy work, that's where that comes from. Another important person is my sister-in-law. She was like the big sister that I always wanted. You think, wow, she is awesome because she's so just vibrant and caring and giving, and she does not give up. I would not be where I am if she was not in my life. What I say to my daughters every day, believe in yourself, keep moving forward, do things with kindness, and you will get to where you want to go. And I think that my girls do that. I know that my girls do that.
Join me in a round of applause for these 5 remarkable role models.